Welcome to New Video Creators. Today I'm going to show you how to do the infinite zoom, but we're going to use After Effects. And the reason I'm using After Effects is because I can create a template which will allow me to use this multiple times. So for this project, I have one time I can come back, just drop the images in, and I have my infinite zoom without going through all of the different settings that's required to get this done. So let me show you how this is done. I have this template that I created, and if we go to my template number 2, my composition settings, and it's 24 by 48 because I'm using the square images from Midjourney. Midjourney images are 1024 by 1024 when you use the square, so I doubled it. So that's step 1. Step number 2, I created a bunch of pre-comps, and they're 1 through, let me rename this one here. This should be _07. Okay. So these are my pre-comps, and what pre-comps are equivalent to the smart objects in Photoshop. So in Photoshop, you can turn a layer or an image into a smart object to make non-destructive editing of that particular layer. Same thing with After Effects. These pre-comps are essentially non-destructive layers. So all of the effects will get applied to the pre-comp and not the actual image. This is the template because we can always just simply replace the image. And if you don't know how to create a pre-comp, let's go in and we'll start with number 9. To create a pre-comp, I would just have the image, right-click, and pre-compose. And you can see that you can leave all the attributes on the template or move all the attributes to the new composition, which is a way of saying that if we were to put some effects on this particular image, when we create the pre-comp, do we want those effects to go travel with the image or remain at the template level? Okay. Now, I didn't do all of that. I just simply created a bunch of comps and had them here, but it's something that you can do. So we have 1 through 9, and I'm going to bring them in. And the way this works, you want, when you're all the way zoomed in, that's at the top. When you're all the way zoomed out, that's at the bottom. So in my case, when I was zoomed in, number 1 was always zoomed in. So if I go into pre-comp number 1, drop this in here, and there's the image. Now, this pre-comp, let's look at this setting. This setting is the size of the actual image, 1024 by 1024. The frame rate, I have it all the way at 12 because we're not doing a lot of stuff here. It's just easier to work with sometimes in After Effects. So I put it at 12. Doesn't make a difference on the final take, but I put it at 12. But there's the image. And so if we were to go through and number 2, bring number 2 in, go with number 3, and then I'll just go ahead and fast forward this so you don't need to see this. I'm just dropping these in. Okay. So we have everything set. So I'm going to turn everything off. I'm going to start with number 9. I'm going to hit S for size, and I'm going to double the scale here. So that's the first step. So number 9 has been scaled, and then I'm going to turn on number 8. Okay. And you can see it almost looks like it's sitting right on top of it, right? You don't even see the difference because of the scaling. And when you're scaling in Midjourney, you're scaling by 2. So that's why it works when you go from 1024 and you double it in size. That's the reason it works. So now that we have that, but we do have this harsh line here, this hard line here, we want to feather that. In order to do that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a mask on it. So I'm going to highlight the image, make sure that my rectangle tool is on, and double click. And now I get my mask. And for my mask, I'm going to feather it. And that's 100. And it's 100 on each side of the line. It's 50 on each side of the line. We got 50 and 50. And what we're going to do now is we're also going to do a mask expansion. And we're going to do negative 100. And that brings it in. That brings that mask in. The feathering goes closer to the center of the image. And now it looks like one image. The next thing, I'm going to pick number 8 to number 9. And that way, when we scale, it'll scale with it. Okay. And we're just going to repeat this process. So I'm going to turn on number 7. Let me make sure that is number 7. All right. All right. All right. So now we have to do, I'll almost like to call it like a kind of a binary expansion of the image. So number 9, now that we go to the next one, we're going to go to 400. So technically just saying multiply 200 times 2. And we're going to keep doing that. Okay. So now you can see when we turn on 7, it looks like a solid image again. Double click on it to create the mask. 100 on the feather, minus 100 on expansion, and then take the pick and go to number 8. So now when we go down to 100, you can kind of see how that works. And we simply have to do this with the rest of them. Now we turn on 6. And we're going to do this again. And I'm going to fast forward this so you don't have to see me go through all of these images. But I'm just going to do all of this over and over again. Now that we have everything, what we can do is we want to zoom in. So I'm going to go all the way to the end. And I'm going to put a keyframe on the end, and then at the beginning, take it down to 200. Okay. Now, when we play this, you're going to see that it started off fast and then it's getting slower and slower. So this is going to be an issue here. So we want a consistent speed throughout. So to do that, we're going to select these keyframes. And keyframe assistant. And we're going to do exponential scale. And that's going to create a lot of keyframes all the way across. But what we'll get is a consistent speed of the image all the way through. And now from this point, we're done. Everything is done. And if we were to look at this, you can see it scales all the way in. Looks like a nice fluid motion. Now, the key about this is that when we start looking at it, if I go to, I have a new set of images here. If I have some space images, if I wanted to, let's go into, we'll deal with just the first 4 images now, where I'm scaling in. So again, this is where I'm most zoomed in at, and so 6. If I go into 6, I can drop 12. Go into 7. Drop 11. Oh, I may have messed up. This should have been 12. No. So, all right. 8 gets 10. And number 9 11, 10, 9. Oh, I should have 9 here. 8 should have 10. 7 should have 11. And 6 should have 12. Okay. Okay. So all I did was change the images. And when we scale now, you can see we get our infinite zoom. Okay. So we didn't do anything different. The only thing we did was we simply dropped in some new images. And now you can see that it is scaling up. So this is the benefit of using After Effects, because we can easily do this. Now, one last thing. Let's say, for example, I wanted to do something different. I wanted to change the speed at which this takes place. I want to create a new comp. I'm going to make it 2048 by 2048. Keep everything there. New comp. I'm going to bring template number 2 into it. And you can see it scales all the way up. But what if I wanted this to happen in 15, let's say, in 10 seconds? Well, what I can do is, now that it's in a new comp, I can right click, go time, and enable time remap. And now this keyframe determines the stop and the end. So if I take this to 10 seconds, now instead of zooming up in 1 minute, it zooms at 10. Okay. So you can imagine the power of this, because we can have multiple templates and we can do certain things and we can just change the timing of this. So if I wanted it at 50 seconds, a slower zoom, or at 20 seconds, faster. Okay. And again, this is the power of After Effects, and doing something like this in After Effects where we can do time remapping. We've created our template. We're only dropping in images at this point. So I'm a big fan of doing it this way. I like the infinite zoom, but what we're doing now gives us the ability to get more creative and do more things with it, outside of just simply creating a zoom. Okay. So I will have a part 2 to this, because there's some other things I think we can look at in doing it in After Effects with this, with this feature. So we'll come up soon with that, but appreciate you guys watching the video. Please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. As you can see, I'm trying to grow the channel as much as I can. So appreciate everyone who watches, appreciate everyone who takes the time to subscribe and like. Okay, until next time, creators, go ahead, get out there and start creating.